So my name's Janet, and I have epilepsy myself actually, but more importantly today my son Dylan, who's 14, also has epilepsy, and I'm really here today to talk a bit about why the Epilepsy Passport is such a positive thing for parents of teenagers with epilepsy. Okay, so my son Dylan, his epilepsy started really 6 weeks into year 7. So just as he was emerging and entering into a phase where he wanted to do more for himself and he wanted to be more independent, he started having major seizures. Over the next 8 months, his condition worsened and his seizures became more unpredictable and acute. And he started to have cluster seizures, so he was needing rescue medication, and they're the very things that you've been talking about. And there were lots of emergency admissions for us. On his last, and we were often at A&E where we were seeing doctors who didn't know his history, and the interventions seemed to be more complicated and they were potentially more serious for him. On his last and most acute admission, we were really lucky that our epilepsy nurse, who's here today, happened to be in the hospital, and he was present and he was able to help make sure that the right information about Dylan got to the doctors who were caring for him. And this made a really big difference to the care Dylan received. And this experience for us really flagged up the need for easy access for patient information, And I think, you know, as you two have said, this is something that the passport will provide. Every epilepsy is different, and every epilepsy needs to be treated in a different way. So it's really key. Although thankfully, Dylan's condition stabilised and we found the right medication, there really still is a risk for him when he's out. And the issue for us as parents is how to try and manage that risk while also trying to help him to have as normal a teenage life as possible. So for him to be able to go out on his own, to travel on his own, to go out with friends, to stay overnight places, to go on trips independently of us. We really want him to feel more and more confident as he grows towards adulthood. But at the same time, we also really need to know, we're really anxious to know that he'll get the right treatment if something happens, if he has an episode when he's out and we're not with him to advocate for him. He does carry a card at the moment. He has an epilepsy action card, but it has no information on it. So this idea that he's going to be carrying a mini care plan is really important to us. It means that whoever is going to treat him, if he has a seizure, will be able to make the right decisions about his treatment, and they'll be able to do that quickly, especially if he needs rescue medication. So, and this could make a very big difference to the outcome for him. So it's really reassuring to us as parents to know that he'll have this information in his pocket wherever he is when he's out and about without us. And another issue that was touched on as well for us as parents, and I'm sure is true for other parents of teenagers, has been about trying to support Dylan to take responsibility for his own condition. And he's here, but even if he wasn't here, I'd say he does a really good job of that, I think. But he's still a teenager, and teenagers aren't renowned for their ability to think ahead or, know when a risk is not a healthy risk, or to manage themselves. That they're still very much learning how to do that. You spoke about the care plan it was really important that the young person was involved in talking about the care plan with the paediatrician, but also with the parents. And for us, the passport is another opportunity to talk to Dylan about his care plan, and that's really important. I hope that it'll give him and other teenagers a real sense of control and ownership of their condition, and that's really important. I also think that it will be really reassuring, and Owen will talk later, and I know what he's going to say, but he can tell you that I think it'll be really reassuring for them to know exactly what will happen to them, or what they can expect to happen to them if they have a seizure and they're not conscious, and what will happen to them if they need treatment. So it's a really important part of empowering them to look after themselves. Yeah. So finally, I wanted to say something about stigma, because I was lucky enough to sit in on the end of the focus group where the young people were talking about the Epilepsy Passport. And what was really striking for me was that every single one of them spoke about the ignorance and the prejudice that they've experienced as young people with epilepsy. And even now, after all this time, I'm obviously a lot older, it's still a condition that is misunderstood, it's stigmatized, it's feared. And the fallout for teenagers at school is really immense. They experience bullying, name-calling, and exclusion from friendship networks. And like many other parents, I'm sure, for us, the dealing with the sort of social and educational impact of all of this has been as big a deal, actually, as dealing with the condition itself. So I really do believe that we need to take every opportunity that we can to educate the people that come in contact with our children about epilepsy, and I really also feel that the passport does this. I think it describes the symptoms, it will lay out how to deal with the symptoms in a way that's really clear and readable to somebody who doesn't know very much about epilepsy. So that's also a really important thing. Yeah. Okay, so just to conclude, the passport will help us as parents. It's really positive. I mean, it will provide anyone looking after our children with the information needed to make the right decisions about their care. And this will make it a lot easier for us as parents to allow them to live independent lives. So that's really significant. I think the passport will help us to support our children to manage their conditions themselves, and it will help those around them to have a better understanding of epilepsy. So on behalf of parents here, especially the ones here, I'd really like to say a really big thank you to all of you who've worked on the passport. I think it's a really positive step forward and a really great thing in terms of helping our children deal with this condition. So thank you very much.